Alrighty everyone, welcome back. So, I figured we'd make a fun and interesting video today, taking a look at every single team and how they have done 4 to 5 games into the season. So, this is going to be a video where we go through every team in alphabetical order. Some teams have played 4 games, some teams have played 5 games, some teams have even played 6 games. It's just a matter of, how many they've played. So, we're just going to go through every team, look at the state of them, see if expectations have been exceeded or failed or in the middle. It really depends, but regardless, we'll get started here with Anaheim. And Anaheim, I'm going to give a little bit of disclaimer too. Currently, as this video is being made, there is a game going on right now where they're playing the Boston Bruins. So obviously, this segment is not going to be entirely accurate when it uploads. But Anaheim currently has played 4 games, has a 1-3-0 record, has 2 points, and they're currently 31st in the NHL. I don't think that, regardless of whether they beat Boston or not, I don't think it really changes where they are. This was their expectation to not be very good this year, and 5 games into the season, they are showing that, so I think that's really all you can leave it at. They've had themselves a good run. It's just where they are right now, unfortunately. Now, Arizona, on the other hand, they have played 5 games, have a 3-2-0 record for 6 points, and they're 11th in the NHL, and they are 3rd in the Pacific Division, or the Central Division. Still getting used to that. Yeah, Arizona's looked good. I've watched a few of their games. I watched the game against Anaheim, ironically. They looked very solid. Goaltending played well. They seem to be doing well so far, but obviously we'll see how they do in the next couple of games. Heading into the 10-game stretch. We'll probably do this again around there, but obviously, we'll find out with that. But Arizona, I like the direction they're going a lot, and I hope that it goes in that direction more and more. Boston, they're playing right now against Anaheim, so obviously these stats may change, but 4 games played, they're 4-0, they have 8 points, and they are 4th in the NHL. So obviously, Boston's had themselves a good season as well too. We thought they wouldn't be that good, but you know what? I will say this, they have a relatively weaker schedule than some of the other teams in that Atlantic Division, so that's definitely something you got to keep in consideration. But yeah, overall, I like Boston and how they're playing, and hopefully they can keep it up from here. But obviously, they've exceeded expectations for sure. Buffalo, it's been middling. It has been middling a little bit. They are 2-3-0 with 4 points for 25th in the NHL with 5 games played. Just the goaltending hasn't been there. Just the offense has been a little bit stalled a little bit, but I think it's 5 games into the year. 2-3-0 isn't terrible, and hopefully as the coming weeks progress, they're gonna take this and turn this back around. I really hope they do. Calgary, they played 6 games. They have a 2-3-1 record for 5 points, and they're 22nd in the NHL overall. Obviously with Calgary, this past week was rough for sure. Losing to Columbus hurts. Losing to Detroit hurts. But you are playing decent teams there that are playing well, so that you do have to keep in mind with that. But yeah, overall, they're not playing bad. They just need to improve in some areas a little bit. But, it's only 5 games in. Hopefully, the season will get better from here for them. Carolina, it's been kind of troubling, I'm not going to lie. 6 games played, a 3-3-0 record, 9 points for 14th in the NHL. With Carolina, they're interesting because you look at them, they've been on this road trip for the past couple of weeks, haven't played a home game in a hot minute. They were playing against Colorado, Seattle, Anaheim, LA, San Jose, basically all the teams that you can imagine that are out there on the West Coast. A lot of late night games for them. I will say this for Carolina, they have been letting in a lot of goals. That is something I've seen, but it is obviously early in the year, and I think once they get the hang of it, they're going to go on a run. They will do well, but it's only 5 games in, or 6 games in for them, so don't go too over the top. Chicago. Chicago is 2-4-0, 4 points in 6 games played for 27th in the NHL. I will say this about the Blackhawks. They played a lot of really good teams. Pittsburgh, Boston, Vegas last night. They've been playing solid teams, and they only had their home opener last night. Like, a lot of teams have already played their home opener, besides, of course, this team. But obviously, it took them a while. They've been on a long road trip to start the year, but, the expectations were kind of that, so I'm not too mad at them overall for where they are right now in the standings. The Avalanche, they've exceeded expectations for sure. 5 games played, 5-0-0, 10 points, and 2nd in the NHL. Obviously an amazing team. They've done great. And definitely, they look a lot more energized and a lot better than they did last year, if I'm being honest, at this point in the year. But I like them a lot overall. Columbus. I'm excited for Columbus. I haven't watched any of their games, unfortunately. I just haven't had the time to. And there's been other games that have been picked over that. But Columbus, I like them a lot. 3-2-0 record for 6 points, and they're 10th in the NHL right now. They've been playing some decent teams. Like they've been playing Minnesota, they've been playing Calgary, they've been playing some solid teams, including the Rangers too, who they beat. So overall, they look solid through the first stretch here. Fantilli looks great, scored his first NHL goal last night, and the team looks good right now, and I'm hoping that it keeps going in that direction because Columbus has been through a lot of painful years. They finally deserve a year where they're back in the playoffs. Absolutely. Then you got the Dallas Stars, who through 4 games played, have a 3-0-1 record for 7 points, and they are 5th in the NHL. So they've looked good. Haven't lost in regulation yet. Great roster. They beat Philly in overtime the other day. But a lot of their games have been overtime, and obviously it's very early on, so we'll see how Dallas does through the stretch here. It's going to be interesting to see how they perform. Detroit, they've been good. They really have been good. They have really exceeded expectations. 6 games played, a 5-1-0 record for 10 points. They are 3rd in the NHL right now. Hopefully this keeps going. I like Detroit a lot. They've been very fun to watch. I watched their game today against Calgary. They look very enjoyable out there. They look like they're playing with a lot of heart. Alex DeBrincat has finally seemed to find his game again after that year in Ottawa where it was just a concerning year kind of for him. But yeah, he's really found his way with Detroit for sure, and I hope that keeps going. Edmonton, I just made a video on them yesterday. They are 1-3-1. 3 points for 29th in the NHL. You can go watch that video, but just a little bit of a summary. It is concerning right now where they are, but I'm not overly concerned. I think they will bounce back at some point. It's just a matter of when. But if they don't within the next 4 to 5 games, then you got to start looking at Woodcroft and seeing, well, what is the situation here with him? Florida Panthers. Panthers are okay so far through 5 games, 2-3-0 for 4 points. They're 24th in the NHL. The only games that I've watched for Florida were the win against the Devils and then the loss against the Jets. They've looked okay in both those games. They came back in the Jets game and they won the Florida game, or they won the Devils game, obviously. But, it's still early in the year. It's going to take some time for them to get adjusted. They lost to Vancouver the other night. Hopefully they can just get back in the groove and, start playing how they did at the end of last year again, obviously. LA Kings, 5 games played, 2-2-1, 5 points for 20th in the NHL overall. LA, once again, another interesting team with me. The goaltending has been not very good, but 2-2-1 through the first 5 games isn't bad. Hopefully they can get the rhythm to it. Cat Talbot can get his rhythm going. I don't know what I'm saying, but, yeah, hopefully the goaltending plays better, but goal from Laferriere last night, team's looking solid. Then you got the Minnesota Wild, 5 games played, a 2-2-1 record, same as the Kings, for 5 points, and they're 21st in the NHL. Minnesota, they've been solid. They lost to Columbus in overtime last night. But overall, it's kind of the middling start. Nothing too much to say. They will find their place eventually, and they will get better. Montreal, they've played 4 games. They've looked solid, though. They're 2-1-1 for 5 points, and they're 18th in the NHL. They played tonight against Buffalo. Unfortunately, I probably won't be able to watch that game. May listen in a little bit, but not watch. But, I like Montreal's situation right now. I like their standing. And I think they're playing well. They're showing a lot of effort. I watched the game yesterday against the Capitals. Cole Caulfield looked awesome, even though they blew a 2-0 lead. But yeah, all you want is progress from Montreal, and it looks like you're getting a lot of effort out of those guys despite all the injuries they've faced. Nashville's surprisingly decent for the first couple of games. 3-3-0, 6 points for 13th in the NHL. The only game that I watched was where they got destroyed by the Oilers, which is, of course, the only game that I've watched. But yeah, they've made some comebacks. They beat San Jose the other night, looked decent. The hope is they'll be better than people think they are, but obviously we're still really early in the season, so we'll find out. Devils, they've only played 4 games. They're 2-1-1 for 5 points. They're 17th in the NHL. The only issue that I have with New Jersey is Timo Meier. Meier's has not looked good for the first couple of games. He's been very dry, taking a lot of penalties. But yeah, obviously their one against the Islanders, no T was great. Jack Hughes looked awesome. But yeah, like I like the Devils. Just it's going to take a little bit once again for them to get their rhythm going and for them to get adjusted, and eventually they will take off. That's kind of how it went last year for them too. Moving on then to the Islanders. The Islanders I've not watched. I'll be honest. Through 4 games, they have a 2-1-1 record for 5 points, and they are 16th in the NHL. So they're right in the middle, probably where they're going to be at the end of the season. Islanders have been decent. They beat they lost to Buffalo, then they beat Buffalo. It's been really strange. They shared that series together, but obviously a little bit early to tell where they are right now. Rangers, 5 games played, 3-2-0 record for 6 points. They're 9th in the NHL. They looked good. They lost to Columbus, but they also played solid. They beat the Kraken last night. They're looking good. Again, another team that just needs to find their rhythm, and then they'll go on a run. But 3-2 is not so bad. Ottawa, they've looked pretty good. Senators, 5 games played, 3-2-0, 6 points for 8th in the NHL. Sens have looked solid. Apart from the Red Wings game, they've looked good in all their games. Beat Washington, beat Tampa. They're beating teams within their division, which is good. So hopefully that keeps going for them. And yeah, Ottawa, obviously I want to see them back in the playoffs this coming season. Would love to make some playoff videos on Ottawa. Would just be awesome. And be able to live stream that and play-by-play commentary and all that good stuff would be great as well. Philadelphia Flyers, they are 3-1-1. For 7 points, they are 6th in the NHL overall. I like the Flyers. For a Flyers fan, they played well through the first couple of games. They played well against Vancouver, played well against Edmonton. They put up a valiant effort against Dallas, outplayed them, but they just couldn't take it home in overtime, unfortunately. But yeah, don't be deceived, though. They will fall off. I'm saying that right now. They will fall off eventually. It's going to happen. Then you got the Penguins, who through 5 games played are 2-3-0 for 4 points. They are 23rd in the NHL. I like Pittsburgh. They had a tough loss to St. Louis the other night. They're just struggling to find their groove, I feel like. And with Carlson in, it's kind of messed up their defense a little bit, I think. But hopefully they can pick it up eventually because they should make the playoffs. Because if they don't with Carlson, yikes, that's not good at all. San Jose, they're the only team that hasn't won a game yet. They're 0-4-1 right now in 5 games played for 1 point. They are 32nd in the NHL. Yeah, it's been a rough year for them so far, and this was expected. They have not exceeded or failed expectations. They're right where they want to be right now, and that's exactly what we thought they were going to be. So San Jose, they're in a good spot, even though they're not, if that makes any sense. You got the Seattle Kraken up next. I made a video on them a few days ago, but they're 1-4-1 right now through 6 games played. They have 3 points, and they're 30th. Again, the biggest problem with Seattle looks like it's just scoring. Like, they can't score. That's their biggest underlying issue right now when I look at the Seattle Kraken. They just can't seem to be able to put the puck in their own net, and that's just been their biggest problem. Apart from the game against Carolina, then they just erupt offensively, but they just can't seem to get anything else going apart from that. But obviously, it is early still, so they can improve. The Blues, through 4 games played, they're 2-1-1 for 5 points. They're 19th. They had a tough loss to Arizona, but they beat Pittsburgh, did well in that game the other night. The hope is that will keep going as well, and they'll keep playing like that. Tampa Bay, through 6 games played, they're one of the teams that is very interesting. They're 2-2-0. Or 2-2-2, sorry, for 6 points, and they are 15th in the NHL. They blew a lead against Toronto the other night, which was brutal, but the goaltending seems to be really taking a toll on them. They just can't seem to get much of anything going with their team, and hopefully they will eventually, but just like they're just struggling like defensively. That's their biggest problem right now. Like, they can score well, they just can't get any defense going and doing solid. So that's my underlying problem with Tampa. Toronto, 5 games played, 3-2-0, 6 points, 12th in the NHL. They've looked good. There have been some defensive woes. John Klingberg hasn't looked good. But obviously it is early still, but they've looked decent so far through their first couple of games. Vancouver, they've looked good. 5 games played, 3-2-0, 6 points. For 7th in the NHL. It's good that they're starting well, because definitely that was a concern heading into the season. Oh, how is Vancouver going to do? But obviously they've done well through the first batch of games, and hopefully that keeps going for them. I'd like to see them make the playoffs. The Golden Knights, best team in the league. They are 6-0-0 for 12 points, and they're first in the NHL, so they are undefeated right now. They are amongst 3 teams currently that have not lost a game. So definitely Vegas has had themselves a great run. They're the best team to start off the season after winning a Stanley Cup. So overall, I like the direction that they're going right now. And hopefully it keeps going that way. Washington Capitals, 4 games played, 1-2-1, 3 points for 28th overall in the NHL. They've looked concerning. They lost in overtime yesterday. It was a good effort, but they lost. And then obviously, too, they lost to Ottawa 6-1. They just can't seem to get much of any offense going either. And Ovechkin just seems to be really dried out right now. I don't think he even has a goal. I don't think he has a goal yet at this point in the season, which is not good. Not good news for Ovechkin. And then finally, you got the Jets with 3 games played, 2-3-0 for 4 points in their 26th. Obviously, the expectations for Winnipeg were pretty low for me, in my opinion. But obviously, they've been kind of meh through these first couple of games. But obviously, they need to pick it up if they want to make the playoffs, of course. If the playoffs started today, this is something I thought I'd do. If we do this every 5 games or every 10 games, I thought it'd be something cool that we could do. If the playoffs started today, your Western Conference will go as follows. Vegas would play St. Louis. That'd be the first matchup. Then you got Vancouver playing the Kings. That'd be a fun matchup there too. Colorado versus Nashville. We've seen that one before. And as well as that too, Dallas would play Arizona. Arizona makes it back into the playoffs and plays against Dallas. That'd be a very fun series in my opinion if Arizona can play the way they're playing still. Yeah, that'd be a really fun series. And then on the east side, you got Boston versus Carolina. Detroit versus Carolina. Not Boston versus Carolina. Detroit versus Carolina now. Forgot to update it. Boston versus Ottawa. That'd be a fun series. Philly versus Toronto. Yeah, that would be something. As a Flyers fan, that would be pretty enjoyable to see my Flyers take on the Maple Leafs. But that probably won't happen because we'll fall off a cliff soon. Then you got the Rangers and the Blue Jackets would play each other. So overall, that'd be a fun playoffs if that was the case. But obviously, that won't be the case. I'm sure by the time we do this at 15 games, we will see that, yeah, they're probably going to be almost entirely different. But yeah, that is the state of every team 4 to 5 to, I guess, 6 games in. But regardless, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button down below. I greatly appreciate it. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.